Hello, Happy New Year. Welcome to the You at Your Best podcast. I'm your host, Morgan. To start off 2026, I wanted to make this week's episode about something that you can do and actions that you can take towards personal growth. This is going to be a very short, simple episode, just like my last episode, because as people who have been listening to my podcast know, I have been struggling a little bit and having a hard time balancing my life with my podcast. So I have been skipping weeks a lot here lately. So I'm in a stage of life where I really just need to make simple, short episodes that are helpful, that you can come back to, but that don't take so much mental energy from me. So the topic of today's episode is learning to be okay with being alone. I feel like for 2026, it's a super simple, easy thing to start on whenever it comes to personal growth. So what does it truly mean to be alone? Being alone doesn't mean that you're sad or you're miserable or you have no friends. It means that you are by yourself. There's no negative or positive connection to the term being alone, but some people take the term I am alone as good while other people take it as bad. And the people who take it as good usually are the ones who have such a deep connection with themselves that they're okay with being alone. A lot of us really struggle with being alone because truth is, being human means craving attention and validation from other people, from outside sources, to know that we are not alone. And it's important for us to be able to be around people and to not completely isolate ourselves. There's a difference in being completely isolated and in being comfortable being alone. But being comfortable being alone means that you're okay with sitting by yourself without anything to distract you. Of course, it's okay to find things that you love and things that make you happy. That's a huge part of learning to be okay with being alone. And sometimes that's what we need. But eventually, most of us get to a place where we're comfortable just sitting in the exact moment that we're in by ourselves without having to change anything, without having to focus on something to distract us. We can just be. And that's a very difficult skill. And some people never find that skill throughout their entire lifetime. And even if we never fully find that skill, it's still something that's really great to work towards. It's still a great goal to have in your mind that I want to be able to be comfortable sitting by myself in the silence, even if it's for 5 minutes. And before I get into this episode, I also want to say that this episode isn't meant to shame you or to make you feel bad or to make you feel like there's another thing that you have to work on whenever you're already doing so much personal growth. This episode is just a reminder that being okay with being alone and being okay with being by yourself is such an important skill to have. But if you're not ready to learn about that right now, if you're absolutely mentally or physically exhausted, I'd suggest probably not listening to this episode in this moment. Come back to this episode whenever you have taken care of yourself enough, listen to your body enough that you're at a place where you can start growing and working on yourself. This doesn't relate to this episode, but since it's really important to me to remind everyone who's listening to my podcast that rest is productive, I want to share a quote that I saw on Pinterest that I just thought was an amazing quote and something that we should all be living our lives by. I'm learning to ask myself what I need instead of what I should be doing. And I saw that and I was like, yeah, that's such a perfect way to put it, because although personal growth and creating goals is so important, it's also important for us to give ourselves time to rest and to listen to what our body and our mind needs rather than doing what we think we should be doing. So if you're listening to this episode and you're thinking like, I can't handle this right now, I just need to rest, then do that. If you feel the need to rest or you feel exhausted or dread whenever you think about personal growth or doing something to work on yourself, it's not because you don't want to grow. It's not because you don't care about yourself. It's because that's your body telling you this is important, but right now I need to rest and not focus on this. If that's how you're feeling right now, please leave this episode and come back another time. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the episode. I already talked about what it means to be able to be alone, but I want to talk about why this topic matters. Learning to be comfortable with being alone is important because at the end of the day, all we ever have is ourselves. At the end of the day, whenever we die, as sad as that is to talk about, we're only going to be alone. And I think a huge part of life is about learning to connect with yourself, learning to love yourself and your company rather than focusing on other people. And although it's important to connect with others and humans need connection to survive, it's more important to focus on yourself first so that you're so connected with yourself that you're able to connect with others on a deeper level. My toddler was sleeping and then she woke up, so I'm going to try to finish this episode while she's awake, but that may not happen. I may have to finish it another time. But next I want to talk about why we struggle to be alone. Sometimes it's because we're avoiding certain negative emotions like fear, sadness, shame, guilt. Sometimes it's because whenever we're alone, we have to look deeper into ourselves, and that can be really hard whenever you've maybe been through a lot of trauma or there's a lot of negative emotions that you feel every single time you're by yourself. So whenever you're around other people, those thoughts and those feelings kind of go away, which is a really great break from all of this, but it also makes things really difficult for you in the long run whenever you never try to better yourself or grow as a person. It could be boredom. Some of us never learned how to properly handle boredom, so whenever we feel bored, we feel the need to distract ourselves or fill that boredom void. Sometimes it's a fear of missing out. Sometimes it's that you feel unloved or unwanted, so you need that validation from other people to remind you that you are loved. Sometimes it's that you just can't stand being by yourself because all you can think about whenever you're by yourself are all the things that you don't want to think about. And truth is, that's what we're really afraid of. Whenever we are scared to be alone or don't want to be alone, sometimes it doesn't even feel like it's a fear. Sometimes it feels like, I just don't want to be alone. I feel dread whenever it's time for me to do something by myself. But a lot of the time, that dread that you feel is your body and your mind kind of trying to distract you from the fact that you're actually scared. So sometimes we don't realize that it's actually fear that's controlling us because we don't feel that fear because that fear is subconscious. And our egos play a huge role in this too, because a lot of us link our sense of self and our overall worth to external validation and connection with others instead of how we truly feel about ourselves. A lot of us don't really actually know anything about ourselves. We don't really know how we feel about ourselves. All we know is how other people feel about us. And if we spent a lot of our lives being criticized or rejected for things that make us who we are, but other things about us were praised, we focus on those things that were praised, and a lot of the time that is external validation or things that people liked about us or complimented us on versus things that people made us feel rejected with. Growing up, I always felt rejected for who I am. Whenever I was being myself, meaning I talk a lot, I'm outgoing, I think very deeply, I see things very deeply, I'm hypersensitive to a lot of things. I felt rejected for those things by my family, not because they rejected me, not because they didn't love me, but because they didn't have the mental capacity to be able to hold those things. So growing up, I learned those things are bad, but I had so much external validation for my looks. People always told me, you're so skinny, you're so pretty, and that's what people always complimented me on. And even though most people who complimented me on those things meant well, I took it as those are the only good characteristics and traits that I have, and who I truly am on the inside doesn't matter. So because of that, a part of my struggling to be alone is me struggling to accept who I am, me struggling to connect with myself because overall I believed that who I am was bad or wrong. Okay, now I'm going to talk about avoidance versus self-connection, what the differences are, what they look like. Avoidance can look like scrolling on your phone for long periods of time. Anytime you get a break, you go straight to your phone. Playing video games constantly, watching TV shows constantly, always partying, always drinking, always doing drugs, using food as a coping mechanism, and things like that. So pay attention to the things that you're doing. If you notice that you're doing any of those things, it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or that you're a horrible person. It just means that you need to take a look at those things and ask yourself why you're doing them. Self-connection looks like doing something because you want to do it, not because you feel like you have to, not because it's a distraction, watching a TV show because you're excited to watch it, reading a book because you're excited to read that book. doing some kind of hobby because you're excited to do it, doing crafts because you're excited, going shopping because you're excited to go shopping, and not going shopping because you want to distract yourself from negative emotions or something in your life that's going on that you don't want to have to face. Self-connection is about doing things that your mind and your body and your soul want you to do in the moment. Avoidance is about doing things despite what your body, soul, or mind want. The next thing that I want to talk about is how to stop being scared of being alone. So the biggest thing is to look inward instead of outward. Look within yourself and look at the things that you're terrified of looking at with love and compassion. And don't look at how other people respond to you, how other people feel about you. Of course, that's important down the road, but whenever you're on the journey of discovering yourself and you need to grow as a person, shame is the last thing that you need. And whenever you focus on other people, shame probably will come up until you get to a better headspace. So as of right now, focus on yourself and understanding why you do certain things. And you can choose another time to focus on how those things impact other people. But right now, focus on how they impact you and what you do with those things. Connecting with yourself. Again, it's discovering things that you enjoy. Like if you love reading, or if you love making music, or if you love anime or anything. My boyfriend loves anime, and I was looking at his anime books on our bookshelf. That's why I said that. But anything that you genuinely love and genuinely care about, it makes you happy and excited to work on it or to talk about it or to spend time investing in it. Focus on those things and try to find those things. Sometimes we don't even know ourselves, and people ask us like, what's your hobbies? And you can't answer. And I've been there multiple times, and that's really hard, but just think about what you enjoy. And if you can't figure out what you do want to do or what you do like, think about what you don't like. Sometimes it's easier. And you can also start hobbies and then realize that you don't like them. Sometimes discovering what you personally like means trying things that you end up realizing that you don't like. The next one is learning to be okay with sitting with your thoughts. This is really difficult, but for me personally, naming that sitting with my thoughts is what's going to help me, made it 10 times easier for me. And there are times whenever I think I need to sit with my thoughts, I need to sit with my emotions, and I feel this intense sense of dread. And I used to think that that meant that I just didn't care about myself or I didn't want to work on myself. But a lot of the time, whenever you feel a sense of dread, whenever it's time for you to work on yourself, that's your body telling you, I can't handle this right now. So listen to your body. If your body is feeling dread, don't focus on the thing that you keep on telling yourself you need to do. And if you do feel dread, you don't have to sit with your emotions for a long time. You don't have to sit with them until you've fully processed them, fully understood them, fully felt them. You just need to allow yourself to sit with them as much as your body wants. And whenever you first start off, your body is going to be scared. It's going to push back. And that's where that sense of dread comes from. Your body doesn't know what's going on and it's kind of scared. And I kind of look at it as my younger self is doing that. My younger self is scared. So listen to your younger self. You don't have to sit with the emotion for a long time. Sit with the emotion for 5 minutes and then move on, and you can come back to it another time. You don't have to do everything right now. Whenever it comes to learning to be comfortable sitting with your emotions and sitting with your thoughts, start as slow as you need. If it's 15 seconds, that's something. That's progress. That's something that you should celebrate. The next one is to stop putting others above you. A lot of people don't realize it, but people pleasing plays a huge role in our inability to sit with ourselves, because truth is, whenever we are constantly doing everything we can to please other people instead of focusing on ourselves, it gives us a chance to avoid what's going on within us. Even if that people pleasing clearly negatively impacts us, we're also doing it as a form of self-love, almost as a way to protect ourselves. But whenever we're pleasing others and constantly focusing on other people, we have literally an inability to focus on ourselves. An example I have is my boyfriend's grandmother. She loves my granddaughter with her entire heart. She loves coming over to see her. And there are days where she wants to come over and she asks me if she can, and I just feel so much dread about it. because I can't handle someone coming over. It's not personal. It's just that I can't handle a person coming over in that moment. And there have been multiple times where I have let her come over even though I didn't want her to, because I knew that she would respond negatively if I told her no. But truth is, if I can't have someone come over, I don't need a reason. I don't need to explain myself. I just have to know that I can't handle it in the moment, and listen to that and honor that, because I love myself and I honor myself. And that's something that I've been trying to work towards, and something that I've been trying to remind myself. Yes, it may be uncomfortable if she reacts negatively, but it's only uncomfortable if I absorb it. I choose what I absorb. I choose the energy that I let come inside me that comes from other people. And I love myself enough that I want to choose to focus on me. That's where I want my energy to go, to focus on me and what I need in the moment. And if I can't have someone come over, that's okay. I get it that some people want to see my daughter, but just because they want to see my daughter doesn't mean they have unlimited access to her and to me. Just because they want to see her doesn't mean people get to come over whenever they want. Doesn't mean they get to show up unannounced, because I'm not comfortable with that. And this is my life, and my daughter is my daughter living in my home, which means that despite what other people want me to do, I'm going to focus on me and the impact that someone else's presence is going to have on me in that moment. And if I'm not okay with them coming around, then that's okay. I'm allowed to say that. And that's what I mean whenever I say to stop people pleasing. Put yourself first. If you feel uncomfortable with something, let it be known. And I know some people are so disconnected with themselves that they don't even know what they actually need. So some people hearing that advice may think like, I don't know what I need or what that is. And it's because you're so disconnected from yourself, because you've been trained to disconnect from yourself. So that tip was kind of for later on down the road, whenever you start to understand yourself a little bit better. It's okay if you continue to people please, or if you're still in an era of your life where you don't really know yourself well enough to be able to determine what you're comfortable with versus what you're not comfortable with. That takes time, it takes healing, and all of the other steps that I share in this episode will help you get to that place eventually. Okay, and then now I'm going to talk about tools for building self-connection. So first of all, there's journaling. You can journal about self-love, self-compliments, big emotions that you have, gratitude, joyful memories, daily habits. Brain dumping is absolutely amazing whenever you have a brain that won't shut up. Doing inner work, like looking deeper into your ego and understanding why you do the things that you do, meeting your needs before you meet other people's needs, choosing yourself without guilt. And then some things that you can do whenever you're alone. You can do hobbies that are calming, like painting, drawing, photography, crafts, scrapbooking, cooking, baking, coloring. You can do self-dates, taking yourself out to dinner, having a mindful walk where you focus on your body and your body's sensations and the environment around you, traveling by yourself if that's something that you're willing to do. You could work on passion projects like art, a podcast, a book, growing a business, researching something that you care about, focusing on college or career goals, social media campaigns, starting a club, music, poetry, any kind of creative work. You can focus on emotional and mental comfort, like practicing sitting in silence for just a couple of minutes a day, letting yourself feel boredom without rushing to fill the boredom, talking kindly to yourself instead of criticizing yourself. Notice when you reach for your phone out of discomfort. Reframe alone time as self-time instead of loneliness. Creating rituals. Like for me, whenever I wake up in the morning, I dread it. I am not a morning person at all. I absolutely hate waking up in the morning. I'm the type of person that if I'm exhausted at night, I can still get stuff done. But if I'm wide awake in the morning, I still can't get anything done. As hard as I've tried, I am not a morning person at all. So if you wake up in the morning, doing something that motivates you to get up. Like for me, with my daughter, she takes Keppra and she has to take it at 9 in the morning. So by 9, I have to get up with her. So I will get up, give her Keppra, change her diaper, give her breakfast, and then I will make me coffee every single morning. That's my ritual. That's what I do. That coffee helps me get up, helps me do things. You could make your space feel comforting and personal. Focus on decorating in a way that feels like you, scrolling on Pinterest to discover things that you like. You could focus on discovering your personal style. You could light a candle and read a book. You could take yourself places that you normally would only go with other people. Sitting in a cafe alone and bring things that you need to bring to help you feel less anxious about it. Like if you need to bring headphones, do that. If you need to bring your computer and work on something, do that. Just getting yourself out there more and being patient with yourself, listening to your body and your mind and how you're feeling in the moment. If it's making you overwhelmingly anxious to the point to where you're going to have a panic attack, then don't worry about it. Don't do it. That means in that moment you need kindness, and you don't need to ridicule yourself or be mean or unkind to yourself because you weren't able to do something that you had a goal of. For strengthening your trust within yourself, make small decisions without asking for validation of other people. Follow your own schedule and your own energy. Let yourself change your mind if you feel that you need to change your mind about something. Do things just because you want to do them, not because you have to. And reminding yourself that you don't need permission to enjoy your own life. Okay, I have a couple more. For like spiritual and inner connection, you can meditate or breathe intentionally. For me, sometimes breathing intentionally gives me intense anxiety, but sometimes it works really well. Having quiet moments of gratitude, sitting outside and feeling a connection to nature, remembering that you have people in your life that probably support you and love you, even if you kind of resent those people. And that's all that I have for this episode. Those are just ways that you can help connect to your inner self and your inner world. And over time will help you learn that being alone is totally okay. And honestly, you'll probably start to prefer being alone. For me, being alone is amazing. I get to connect with myself. I get to focus on things that I enjoy without having to worry about another person. I get to just do what I want entirely. And as humans, we need that. Sometimes we need moments where we can focus only on ourselves and no one else. And remember that your longest and most important relationship will always be with yourself. For this week's journal prompt, write out a list of 5 things that you can start doing to connect with yourself. That's it for this week's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really hope it helped you realize that connecting with yourself and being alone isn't actually as scary as we make it out to be. Sometimes we make things out to be more terrifying than they actually are. Whenever we actually do them, we realize like, this really isn't that bad. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next Sunday.